All right. Hey, everybody. Hope you're doing well, staying safe amidst the outbreak. I'm joined today by a friend of a friend, Daniel Lentz, who is a consultant with Leaders Advantage down in South Carolina, and a grad student at Clemson University, which is also the University of Hillary Smith, who I just recently spoke with. Welcome to the conversation, Daniel. How are you doing today?
I'm excellent. I just appreciate you allowing me to do this. How's everything up there in Pittsburgh?
Well, it's very strange. So it's like 70 degrees and rainy and overcast as usual. That's probably the most normal, common thing with Pittsburgh. But our state is in damn near total shutdown. So it's very peculiar. We're getting by. I'm here with my family, staying safe and playing lots of Nintendo.
Yeah,
a lot of Nintendo. I have a personal goal for myself. I don't know if you play Nintendo at all, but in Super Mario Odyssey, you have the opportunity to collect 1,000 Power Moons. I am at 786 collected. So by the end of this outbreak, I will have all 1,000 collected.
That's really impressive, actually.
That's my personal goal. And then to also get 9,999 coins so I can get Mario in the skeleton costume.
Oh, I didn't even know that was a thing.
Yeah. In Odyssey, you can get... You basically collect coins and then you buy the different costumes. Oh. And there's like a zombie Mario, there's a pilot Mario. There's a whole bunch of different types of Mario. And my daughter actually just made me beat the game again. So now I'm just trying to collect coins and beat the side missions and stuff like that. So How are you handling it?
You know, life is different, to say the least. You know, right now it's 75, sunny, blue skies, and grocery stores are out of toilet paper. So that's unfortunate. I'm not a planner, so I just need toilet paper. Just generally.
In general.
I just need a roll or two. So we'll see how that's.
What's interesting is that, and I don't know if many people can consider this, but if you're out of toilet paper, which most people are buying, look to the alternatives. So like baby wipes.
Yep.
They're more expensive, but I think I don't need to get into the specifics, but you might find them more available. And then also hardware stores generally have products like that, napkins, paper towels, stuff like that. You wouldn't think they would, but typically they do. So that's a good source to check out as well.
Yeah, I need to take notes now.
This has now become the Life Survivals podcast with Daniel and RJ. We'll just forget all of the other stuff that we were going to talk about.
Yeah, so camping, question mark.
Don't do it. Actually, I have a friend who lives out in Pacific Northwest, just out in the woods, and he's like the safest person ever. Because he doesn't see anyone for weeks at a time.
Right. So this is just a day in normal life there.
Yeah. Well, speaking of days in the normal life of Daniel Lentz, tell me a little bit about your job and then also your grad school experience.
Yeah, so I'll start with my job first. So I was originally working for a local nonprofit down in Hilton Head, South Carolina, and after about 4 years with that company, I decided to switch gears, and I approached a family friend of mine who works for a company called Leaders Advantage. It's a leadership development company, and essentially what they do is, I'm sure you've heard of DISC or Myers-Briggs or the Enneagram, things like that. So we have our own assessment called the My Hardwired. It's 3-dimensional. And so what we do is we allow individuals to take that assessment and they get the results immediately. And it's typically in a business world. And so what we'll do is we'll go into the business, we'll sit everybody down and look at everybody's assessment and talk individually about who you are as a person, and then how you relate to those individuals that are sitting around the table with you. Basically, what we do is we help everybody play nice with one another. Mm-hmm. And then we have a Leaders Challenge course, which is a 3-day course that we go into and really dive down into the My Hardwired profile. We talk about how to be productive, how you're motivated, how you learn, do some team bonding, team building activities. And, we've just seen a lot of fruit from that. So from a consulting standpoint, that's really what we do with that company. And so it could be Fortune 500 companies, nonprofits, individual consultants, or even people who just want to know a little bit about themselves. So we use it in relationships. My family has one. And so in our home, we actually have 4 different assessments. And so we know how everybody operates, how we listen, how we learn, how we prefer to communicate, and just how we prefer to work. So, yeah, so that's kind of a little bit about the work environment. As far as grad school has been a really, really wild ride. And so I'll tell you a little bit about it. I just want to give you as much information as possible. But
please do. Yeah.
When I never thought grad school was going to be an option for me. I grew up, I had a learning disability in high school. Middle school and high school, I had professors tell me, you're not even going to go to college. Don't try to go to college. And so I actually took, I flunked out for 2 years of undergrad. And then I came back to school, got my undergraduate degree. So grad school really was never in the cards because undergrad was a Hail Mary. When I graduated, it was the biggest deal. And so I came across this program at Clemson. It was the Master's in Science and Marketing. I was looking over it, and I called them because I didn't really want to take the GRE. I wasn't very confident that I could get in with a decent score. So I reached out to the professor. He said, "Don't worry about it. Come on, and just apply." So I put in my application, and this was probably in late April. I met with him in October because I believe in meeting with somebody and telling them your story, because I wasn't confident really that I had the ability to get in based on just a paper, somebody reading a piece of paper about me. And so he contacted me in April and said, "Daniel, I need you to apply." I said, "Fine, I'll throw it out there." So I sent my application, and then I got the call in early May, and they said, "Welcome to Clemson." And so off I went from Hilton Head to Clemson. When I first got there, I didn't really know what to expect, but it was a summer, fall, spring, and then, this year it would be, or May is when I will end up graduating. But our summer was very, very different because, for a couple things, I didn't realize that in a degree in marketing that, particularly to a master's program, there were multiple people from all kinds of different backgrounds. Right. We had an archaeologist or a geologist. We had a foreign exchange student. I was an English undergrad. We had all kind of different backgrounds. Well, this summer, the past summer when we started, our professor had to medically withdraw from one of our classes. And so there was a 2-week gap where we didn't have, I think it was 2 weeks, it was about a 2-week gap where we didn't have that class. And then we had another professor come in, and, they essentially said, "Well, I don't really know what you were learning, but we'll just kind of put something together for you." And then, we move into the fall semester, and there were a lot of professors who were asking us, "Well, what do you guys want to learn?" And I've never been in that type of environment. I've been more in the structured, this is what you're going to learn, this is how it's going to be. But, one of the major takeaways for me as a non-marketing undergrad is I was able to really connect on a personal level with a lot of my professors, and a lot of them were very encouraging. It's not really a weed out type of program where either you make it or you don't. It's, hey, we want to bring everybody to the same place. And so I think one of the reason that the experience has been so encouraging to me is because a lot of time in academia, you see, we're going to present 100% of the information, and we're going to see how high people can reach it. You know, do they read it at an 80%, a 90%, a 50%? Where do they kind of end up? And the way that this program has been designed is it's more, we're going to give you this much information. Does everybody understand it? Yes. Then we're going to give you this much, and then this much, and then this much.
Progressively level up.
Yeah, and then everybody's on the same page. And so I think that has been one of the factors for me that has proved just most encouraging over my tenure in this program.
So I really like the story that you're telling, especially since you're coming from a place of weakness and you're building that into a strength, and that strength develops over a period of self-discovery. I never took the SATs. I got into, so there's an interesting conversation to be had with some people before they enter something. So for example, most people, in fact, practically anyone can get into a community college regardless of, SAT scores. So for me, what I had done was I never bothered taking the SATs. I knew I was accepted to a tech school the July following, the month after I graduated high school, basically. And in fact, no, if I recall correctly, I knew where I was going before I graduated. And then I moved to Pittsburgh in that July and did my associate degree, transferred into a 4-year institution, never took any, entry tests or exams or anything like that. And I got into a master's program without having to take any GREs.
Oh, wow.
And I got into a PhD program without having to take any standardized testing either. So if you feel like you're going to cap out at the master's, guess what, my friend? You may not.
That's what everybody tells me.
Yeah. And I think I'll personally challenge you to say, like, even if you don't want to go for a PhD, just apply just to see if you can get there.
Right.
And, ultimately for me, I discovered that the PhD track that I was in was really not meant for me, and I dropped the program. But it didn't really matter for my career anyway. But nevertheless, there is a lot of adversity to face when you purposely don't follow the track, the build track to get to these places. You take the long way around, or maybe you take the way with all the different curves. But I think maybe I can speak for you as well as myself when I say this, but like the road less traveled gave me such a better appreciation of what I learned and my experience.
100%. Absolutely.
So you're going to graduate in May, and you're also one of those people that's going to graduate into an economy and market that has no idea where it's at or what it's going to do. But you've embraced sort of your entrepreneurial spirit, and you're embarking out there on your own. Do you have any particular concerns for what your life looks like after you graduate?
Not at all.
None?
0.
That's good. Like, stay positive. You're a glass half full kind of guy, I take it?
It's funny you say that. I think I'm more of a realist. And, over the course of my career, I've surrounded myself with people who are much more intelligent than I am. And I've just sought wisdom from them. And one of the special women in my life, she was my first big boss. And she told me that, she said, "Daniel, you are like a ping pong ball." And she said, you just bounce all over the place.
Right.
And so she said, there is no circumstance that I would ever be worried about you. And so that's really the approach that I take, is that, sure, the economy might be bad, it's coronavirus, there's all these different things that could happen. There's always going to be something, and we're just going to keep bouncing around until we fall where we need to be.
Yeah, everyone's trying to figure this stuff out and where their place in the world is. Especially like working from home. For some people, they've never done it. They don't even know how. I've actually found most of my time has not actually been spent on my job. but spent guiding and coaching others just how to acclimate to working remotely. And, you know, that's quite the responsibility, because it has nothing to do with capability and intelligence, and everything to do with, you know, emotional intelligence and empathy, and just understanding how that creates anxiety with some people.
Right.
It's really quite interesting. You know, I was chatting with my wife earlier today about how we're getting, so from a marketing and communications angle, we're getting up-to-date information as soon as it's released, and we're getting it in a wide variety or a wide array of points. So we're seeing it on TV, listening to it on the radio, seeing it on social media. It's hitting our phones. I mean, it's always kind of around us, right? But the one thing I haven't seen, and just because I haven't seen it doesn't mean I don't believe it, but I actually haven't seen like pictures of like how overcrowded like hospitals are, and especially in like other countries. And it's very surreal, because we're experiencing the influence of this outbreak in a really kind of a solitary way. It's like, stay in your house and just pretend, and don't even pretend, but just assume that everything else a mile away is on fire and is chaos.
Right.
Right?
It almost feels like a movie.
It definitely has that vibe to it. Yeah.
It's like, oh man, like this is the part where they're just like looking at just in my home, and we're just kind of hanging out, but like everything is on fire, and there's panic,
right,
you know, at the local Walmart or wherever.
So imagine like if you live in like a really kind of rundown community, and, you know, it looks like The Walking Dead, you know, every day. And now that this is happening, like it kind of feels like it. It's very spooky. But nevertheless, So, you know, I've been spending a good portion of my time sending messages to students about how the business college is reacting to all of the coronavirus outbreak, and what's shutting down, who's accessible, etc. From the student perspective, and this, I'm genuinely interested in this. From the student perspective, how are you interpreting all of these different types of messages that you're getting?
Are you talking about from the school? From
your school, yeah. I mean, it doesn't matter what they're saying, but it's just like, how's it hitting you? How's that affecting your perspective on life and learning and working, etc.?
You know, I just think it's different. It's really because I've never experienced anything like this, and it almost, like, I understand it, but from a university perspective, it almost seems like it's almost like a calming message. And we're getting messages. There are no cases. There are no cases. There are no cases. Where that's pretty much the updates that we've been receiving. There's no cases. There's no cases. You know, and then it's, I'm sorry to inform you, but we're going to go all online. We believe that the professors have everything under control. And so it really just seems like a stock, almost like a template. Of just kind of, hey, this is kind of what everybody else is sending out. This is what we're going to send out. But as far as the way it's hitting me, I think that it's really difficult for me, because I'm seeing what's going on in the news, and I'm seeing what's going on in society, and then I'm seeing what's going on in education. And it just, those parallels seem to be more perpendicular.
There's a really unique contrast in that respect.
Right. And so I think that, you know, I'm almost taking it with a grain of salt and just saying, you know, okay, yep, we're online. Got it. You know, and because it's not I was actually watching the news, and I think I was reading an article on LinkedIn, and it said it's not a matter of if it comes here, it's a matter of when it comes here.
Right.
And so I think so much we try to create this bubble around us. It's not going to happen to me. It's not going to happen to us until it does. And then we're, you know, shocked, and everybody's going, oh man, like I never saw this coming. And it's like, what do you mean you didn't see this coming? You know, I believe, what was it? Ohio State, Seattle, or Washington, Cal, those schools were shutting down probably 2 weeks before we were even told about anything,
Sure. Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know? But like I said, it's kind of hard because it's, oh, well, we're going to be online till April 5th. And I'm sitting here going, the NBA is suspended. The NCAA is suspended. I'm watching all my friends who are student athletes being sent home. And then it's like, we just got the email last
Right.
night, that we're all online when these schools have been shutting down. So I just feel like, I don't know. For me personally, I'm not trying to get political or anything like that, but it just feels like we're almost late to the party, you know,
Sure.
as a country, because we
Yeah.
saw all these things happening, and then it's, oh, well, we're here now, but what could have been done? What could have been done way before this? You're going to cancel classes when everybody's on spring break.
Mhm.
Like,
Yeah.
now people are going home, coming back, and then going back. So if you're in California, you bought a plane ticket to go to California, and now you have to come back and get your stuff and then go back to California for the next 6 months.
Right. Assuming you're not stuck there. So that brings up a good point. Like, I was supposed to be in New Orleans to do a presentation, and my wife had said, like, if you go down there, you might not be able to come back.
Right.
And I'm like, that's actually a very salient point. I didn't think about that. And that's why,
Yep.
that's one of the reasons why I didn't go. But to your point without getting political, which I certainly can, but like, could more have been done? Absolutely. Could have been done faster. Yes. And if you're watching this and you don't agree with that, all you really have to do is look at the facts to see how unprepared we were. So from my point of view, with like being a person that communicates with students, like I want to be as prepared as possible, but I can only go so far with what I've got. So like right now with the business school, like it's basically just listen to what central marketing says, pay attention to their messages, and fall in line. Shut down your social media so doesn't come off as tone deaf and insensitive, and just try to roll with it as best you can.
Yeah. And I think even so, like, even if I don't think it's necessarily an agree or disagree.
Yeah,
It can even be something as simple as just asking the question, could something have been done
sure.
differently? And I think that when you look at it from instead of being subjective about everything and having strong viewpoints on like, oh, this is what we should have done, as I just feel like everybody becomes, like everybody becomes an expert in these times.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Everybody right
Yeah.
now can tell me everything about the coronavirus, or some people might, not everybody. I don't want to make rash generalizations, but even this moment, it's not about necessarily being an expert, but it's just saying like, hey, we saw some of this. Could this been different? Can we make changes now? How can this be different? Things like that, I think would be
Mhm.
just helpful. But nonetheless, we are where we're at now. So now it's just a matter of trying to thrive within this environment.
So, on that same theme, but switching gears a little bit, your career was built on a place of adversity. So maybe you've seen more unique challenges. You've had to learn things very specific ways in order for them to stick, so you retain it. I myself had a similar path. I didn't have a learning disability, but I have a physical disability, so that presented some challenges. And just the idea of struggle and how you dealt with it, and how the world that you and my students are entering upon graduation, like, what's your best advice for handling those challenges and overcoming them? So to get more specific, this could relate to, well, I was highly ranked in my class, but I can't get a job. What do I do with myself? Or, the jobs that are out there aren't jobs that I'm interested in. Should I just go do something else? What's your intuition on this?
So a couple things. Number one, be a sponge. And just realize that there are a lot of people that have a wealth of knowledge, way more than you do.
Mm-hmm.
And for me personally, surrounding yourself with those individuals, seeking those individuals out and seeking that wisdom from them, and just taking all the information you can was very helpful for me in my career. And because I came in thinking, oh, like this is going to be easy. I can do all this stuff. But having people say, let me help you. So
Sure.
I think it's a combination of being surrounded by that and also being selfless. I think the reason that I am where I am today is being selfless, and no matter the situation. And so I want to expand upon that a little bit. And so, when you hear things like, oh, I deserve $60,000 out of college, I
Sure.
deserve my dream job, I deserve these things. That type of mindset, I've noticed people aren't really turned on by that type of behavior. So
Mm-hmm.
a couple examples is when I was in Hilton Head, I ran into just this couple, struck up a conversation. They were looking for live music. So I knew a friend of mine had a restaurant, called the restaurant. I said, hey, I booked you guys reservations. I stopped by I stopped by their dinner later that night. And I just said, hey, how's everything going? How's the dinner? How's the live music? They said, everything is great. I said, great. All I wanted to do is just come by and say hey to you. And she said, or she looked at me, the wife did, and said, hey, if you ever, she goes, you're just a super nice young man. If there's anything I can do for you, let me know. And I said, oh, okay. Well, turns out she was a vice president of a Fortune 500 company. And she said, and
Yep.
I met her when I was playing volleyball. I was sweaty. I was sandy. I was disgusting. And I said, oh, well, if I would have known that, I would have spoken different. I would have acted a little bit different. And she said, no,
Sure.
you're great. And so I've connected with her. She's helped me do my resume. She's tossed my resume out to her colleagues, her network.
Sure.
And so really just that kindness was really, really helpful for me. And then when I went to my first job, I came in, it was a nonprofit. I came in with all these ideas. I came in, I'm like, we need to do this. We need to do this. We need to do this. And soon to be my favorite person, the associate director sat me down and said, Daniel, shut up for the first 6 months. Shut up. Don't say anything. And I was like, okay. And what she was trying to tell me is that, Daniel, you don't know everything.
Mm.
And so you need to start from the bottom. You need to learn about the organization. You need to find out what we have done, and then you bring your ideas forward.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that those probably are going to be the two. If I had to pinpoint two things, I think that it would be, to realize that, to be selfless, and to really surround yourself with people who can influence you.
That's such great advice, because I've had some amazing career opportunities, but also just personal growth opportunities when you make yourself available to things to happen to you, and like make yourself available to conversations that you have with folks, and wherever that can lead. And sometimes that won't pay off for years, right? Just like the other day, I used to be a member of Rotary International.
Yeah.
When I ran my first company, I was a Rotary member, and I always loved Rotary. And we would do these shelter meals for the homeless at this place called East End Cooperative Ministry. And I was in Rotary from like 2009 to 2011, and I met a whole bunch of people. And then after I left in 2011, about 2 years later, I ended up like doing a brand new logo and website for East End Cooperative Ministry. And that logo is on the side of their building, and it looks amazing. And everyone that's familiar with ECM, that ministry, sees that design, and it's super cool. And so just recently I met with a Rotarian, and he was talking about like, yeah, we go out to ECM, and we do the shelter meals once a month. I'm like, oh, I spent a lot of time there. He's like, how do you even know about ECM? I'm like, oh, well, I designed the logo for it and everything. He's like, oh my God, it's beautiful. Here, I got a job for you. How much do I pay you? So like, okay, great. That works out. So and that was the span of what, like a decade or so.
Right.
So it really does, it really can pay off when you make yourself available to people like that.
And I think,
so great advice.
too, if it's okay too, I would like to add one more thing.
Please.
I think this is really, really imperative, is to be yourself and to be comfortable in who you are and be vulnerable and be honest. And that's all encompassing on know who you are. Because I think that when you are honest in conversations, when you are vulnerable with people, that people see that. Because in every situation that I had to overcome adversity, you know,
Right.
it was because of those things. You know, when I went to get into Clemson, I just walked up and I had a raggedy old white t-shirt. It had holes in it because I had just gotten up. You know,
Right.
I hadn't brushed my hair, do anything, and my hair was much shorter then, obviously. But you know, I walked into the admissions office and I sat down and I said, "Hey, I just want to I want to talk to the head of admissions for 2 minutes, and after that, I'll leave." I sat down. I said, "Look," I said, "I don't deserve to be here. I have a cumulative GPA of a 0.00 for 2 years. Do I deserve to be here? No, I don't. Are there more competitive people? Yes. Do those people probably have more money and will bring more money to the university? Absolutely.
Yeah.
But I'm just here to be honest with you. I know that I can do this, and I'm just looking for a chance." And she gave it to me.
It's great.
You know, but I also remembered, you know, when I say remember who you are, it's just don't think about the next step. You know, and that's why when you asked me earlier about, Daniel, you know, are you worried about graduation? I'm not, because if I worry about that, it's going to take away from what I'm doing in my program. You know,
Sure.
I left a nonprofit where I was running an international program where I brought one of the first dementia-friendly communities to America from England. I went from that to working construction, and I didn't even know how. And same thing, I walked in there. He said, "Hey, tell me about your experience in construction." I said, "I don't even know how to screw a screw."
Right.
I don't even know how to
Yeah.
use a hammer. I can't do anything. And I said, "But what I can do is I will show up and I will work hard." And he said, "You're hired." And he
Cool.
kept me on until I went to this marketing program. Told
Yeah.
all my professors, I'm not going to be the smartest. I'm not going to be the most intelligent, but I'm going to work harder than any of the other individuals here. And I will give you 100%. And every last one of them said, "Here's my cell phone. Meet with me after hours. I would do whatever it is to help you."
Yeah.
And I took advantage of that. So I think that that's a really important piece, because so much we're trying to influence people and say, "Oh, this is who I am and this is how you should see me." And
Yeah.
I think a lot of times people just want that raw emotion. This is who you are.
Grit goes a long way.
Exactly.
No doubt about that. Well, I will go ahead and end it there. Just for some parting thoughts, if folks are interested in learning more about you and your work and Leaders Advantage, how can they reach out and find you?
The best way right now is they can find me on LinkedIn. And so please connect me. It's Daniel Lentz. And I'm sure you're going to put the contact information,
Yes.
send that out. So LinkedIn is great. You can email me. And if you're interested, people can send me an email. And what I like to do is set up phone conversations. I just love the connection with over the phone. And so I will give my personal number out to those individuals who need any help.
Cool. Sounds good, Daniel. Well, we'll do this again and check in with you hopefully sometime soon. But thanks again, and congratulations on your program and graduating despite the outbreak. And you're absolutely right. You know, don't let thoughts of your future affect your present. You're going to do great.
Cool. Thanks. I appreciate it.
Thanks, man.